Hey,
Happy Monday morning.
absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
welcome to the Rising Phoenix Business Community Show.
Woo!
We're glad you're all back. It's beautiful outside. And I am Sandy Corrigan, one of your co-hosts, and with my husband, Tom Corrigan.
That would be me.
Yeah. And then our fabulous guy in the center of our screen.
Hey, and I'm going to, once again, I'm going to interrupt this regularly scheduled broadcast to give you an update on the world out there. For many of us, if you're doing a Zoom call that doesn't have video, it's just audio only, you might get away with this look.
So
But
that's
if-
all you people that have your video muted. That's what we're imagining you look like. So get your video on this morning.
Yeah, but if you get your video on, then you got to do the smooth look. You just got to clean it up a little bit.
Clearly.
And then, of course, sticking with the hair theme today, when your hair salon is closed, but your dog groomer has a cancellation, you look like a poodle.
Chuck, I literally just saved this onto my computer because I wanted to share it with everybody. I'm so glad you did.
Well, there you go. That's my interruption.
Oh, that's awesome.
You want to finish anything? You can't interrupt me.
No.
Here's the quick rundown of our format today. If you're joining us for the first time, we're gonna have something visionary and inspirational, and we're gonna talk to some folks who have been knocked down and got back up and are plodding forward, maybe even way more than just surviving, but thriving in this environment. And that's really the focus of this broadcast. And we're glad you're here. We believe that the people who join us on this show are those people. They're not satisfied with just getting by. So then we're going to move into what we call a bottleneck segment. So be thinking about it. If you have a bottleneck, and that is you have a challenge, an opportunity, or a problem you just can't get your arms around, and you would really benefit from the wisdom of crowds, that's us.
Yeah, baby.
You'll get exposed to the wisdom of the universe right here on this show, and might just get the idea that helped you get that breakthrough, because that's what we want to see happen with people. And then we'll close with asking for what we call a BFO, a blinding flash of the obvious. Always want you to have a takeaway, something you can chew on or actually put into practice today. And then we finish with a little challenge and encouragement around why community is so incredibly important to us today.
So when we got together and decided to give back to our community and our small business world around the world, we just thought, what is a better example than the story of the mythical bird, the phoenix? And so you know the story. The phoenix lives about 100 years, and at that mark settles into a nest full of kindling and wood, and the old bird is burnt up, and a new wonderful opportunity, a new fresh bird shows up. And certainly we're all feeling probably very much like that, like a lot of the things that we were counting on or rituals for us or the way we lived our lives is no longer true, it's no longer been working. And so the perspective of saying, wow, what kind of opportunity stands before us in this piece? Certainly we have some grief and death we've had to move through to a perspective and opportunity of excitement. And so this is the website for you where you can join the call as well as download the most current survival guide, which Chuck will talk about in a minute. All the episodes are also on this website. And we really need your help because we want to create a movement of business owners helping business owners. So please share it every week. And, you know, we got capacity for about 1,000 people on this call, don't we, Chuck?
Yeah, we do.
So we're glad you're here. So Chuck, I think you have a question for everyone, right?
Well, I have at least a question and maybe a few more things. Let me pull this up. We've got a lot of things we want to talk about today, but one of the things we we talked about.
Just can't get away from that, can
You
you?
can't get away from that. It's just too cool.
And Chuck, it's only because you have a poodle and love poodles.
I think that's what I would look like with hair.
You could get a wig. Diane's on the call. Diane, get Chuck a wig.
Yeah. Been watching some Netflix movies, and most of the guys look like this from 1740. This wouldn't be funny back then.
Not so
All right.
much.
So here, I want to entertain or look at some of the dumb things people have said over the years. 1876, the telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. This device is inherently of no value to us.
None.
Western Union. Well, really? I don't know. Heavier than air flying machines are impossible. This is 1895, 4 or 5 years they were already doing it, but maybe 6 or 7 years before we actually had one. Really? I don't think so. And there is no reason for any individual to have a computer in their home. 1977. Whoops. Are you kidding me? Where would my Xbox be without my computer? All that good stuff. And then, of course, in 2020, we got this statement: nothing good can come from this pandemic. That was quoted from Sad Guy 2020. And this kid says, no, really, Dad, it's not that bad. Faceplant. We can do better. Here's the problem. Adults don't learn unless we're disoriented. All those people knew what they knew. And when they knew what they knew, they were done. When we feel comfortable that we understand what's going on in the world around us, we're not learning. Kids learn by default. They just do because they're all disoriented. Everything's new. Why is that man tall? Why is that, what is that animal with 4 legs? They're just learning as a lifestyle because they're completely disoriented, and we teach them to stop being disoriented. So we have to relearn how to be disoriented. I think it's a skill that we should all have. Carol Dweck wrote her book, Mindset. Pretty simple concept: fixed mindset and growth mindset. The fixed mindset is looking for the lowest probability of anything going wrong. And the growth mindset is looking daily to take risks to get out and stay out of their comfort zone. And that's a life of disorientation. So the encouragement to you guys today is just going to be to get out and stay out of your comfort zone. Live a disoriented life. I challenge you to do that. You'll have a better story to tell your children. Again, I say this all the time, we're still hunting mastodons in our head, and it has so much impact on the way we live our lives. The 3 S's of the industrial age, my most recent book was supposed to be out in April. We're going to put it out in October and November for obvious reasons. But it's called Rehumanizing the Workplace by Giving Everybody Their Brain Back. And the book that preceded that one was the who, what, when, where, and how of the idea of the participation age. The participation age has 3 hallmarks, or not 3 hallmarks, but three driving forces: safety, security, and stability. When you worked in the factories, you think of the 1950s TV shows, it's about safety, it's about security, and it's about stability. Safety: live in the suburbs. Don't live with those icky people downtown. And then security: have a big wad of cash in the bank and save. Saving for retirement is the manic obsession. And then stability: every day should look the same. Leave It to Beaver, My 3 Sons, all those shows. It was about the guy leaving the house at 7:30 with his briefcase, and he waves goodbye to the 2.6 children and the wife, and comes home to a wife who looks like she hasn't done anything all day, and the 2.6 kids and the beagle and the picket fence, and every day looks the same. That's what we were taught to reach for: safety, security, and stability. But we've tried those things for a few decades. We've had the opportunity to try them for a few decades, and they come up wanting because they are at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy. So we have to learn how to go for the fourth, what we call the 4th S of the participation age, and that's significance. Making meaning, not just making money, not just getting through life, but making meaning in life. And the most meaningful lives are the ones that are disoriented, that are constantly looking to challenge themselves and say, I'm not sure about this today. This is a little beyond me today. I'm stretching myself. So let's get out and stay out of our comfort zone going forward. Let's use this disorientation to learn, to relearn how to live a disoriented life. And we'll have a better story to tell our children. So with that in mind, I'd love to ask you guys a question, and we can have some of you just share it audio if you want to be brave and hit your space bar and share with us, or put it in the chat box. But what are some ways in which you've been disoriented during this crisis that have actually helped you? What are some things that have disoriented you that, at first you looked like one of those babies And then you realize, yeah, maybe this actually is something that's good for me. I'm learning from this. Something good is coming out of this. So who's got some of those? Go ahead and put them in
Yeah,
the chat box, but who's got
I've
one?
got one.
Yep.
So, Mario, my son and business partner, and I have had to look at our cash position on a weekly basis instead of a monthly basis. And that's actually been very helpful in terms of aligning our priorities and getting a little tighter in that area. And I'm sure once things get easier again, that will have been a very beneficial practice for us.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the one thing that can put you out of business at any stage of business from your first minute to your 30th year is cash flow. Every other kind of accounting works for you or against you, but cash flow. So that's a great one to learn. Peter here says it's helped me prioritize things that are the most important to me. And Connie says, no way to go to the gym or anywhere else. So she's using the commute time to get her projects done. And then taking the time to be still when I'm not sure what to do next, Shelley Whitehouse. It's a great thing to just be still. Boy, that's something we've lost in our modern rush environment, is to learn how to be present, to be still, to take the time to just turn inwardly like that. And then Carolyn asked the question, can you please share the slide with the difference between growth and fixed? You bet. I'll put that back up there. Who's got another one, verbally or otherwise?
The big one for me, Chuck, is the realization that, I was using Zoom prior to the COVID, and quite a lot of the people, I've always looked at communicating with people all over the world, but it isn't the norm. But suddenly that's now accepted by a lot of the business owners that I know. They're now, on Zoom, they're communicating, they're visiting different places. So it frees everybody up an awful lot more. There's huge more potential, I think, or a lot more potential to connect.
Yeah, so it's in some ways that what we thought was a small world is actually becoming bigger. The more confined we are, and the more small our world is in some ways, the bigger it is through Zoom and through other means. We're communicating more across the boundaries. What else?
Bud said, being creative to find new ways to reach out to people who mean a lot to me, both personally and professionally. And Carrie said, I've taken time to communicate more with employees.
Awesome.
And Randy, I had to furlough my office manager, who also did our elder care consulting, and I had to learn payroll and how to bill our consulting and let things go I wasn't enjoying.
Awesome. Learning to slow down. Well, that's a good one. Learning to slow down. Speeding up to slow down.
Chuck, over the weekend, I was talking to somebody and talking about this exact same thing and saying, actually, what a gift some of this disorientation is, because the pace of life is so driving back in the old normal. It stole our time, or at least our perception of our life, that didn't allow us to sit and think, and didn't allow us to sit and review. Am I getting a value from these things I'm investing in, time, energy, or money? I'm buying the Now I'm looking back, haven't used those services in 8 weeks and going, why did I buy those in the first place? So the disorientation is actually a reorientation if we're going to embrace it.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Well, I think that go ahead. Who's got one?
Sorry. A couple weeks ago on the 3 to 5 call with Rob and Jake, you had said, like, right now you should be the busiest you've ever been. Like, you should still have, lots of work going on. And I was sitting there and I was like, my salon's closed. I don't have anything to do. That doesn't apply to me. And then I sat down, and after that call, I got into this creative flow, and I have been super busy ever since you said that. I've been writing stuff down every day and taking action. So I think just realizing how I wasn't using my time constructively.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, and here's another one, not using her time, but figuring out. Melanie says, time to finish reading the 5 books I started last year. Yeah, that's using your time constructively. Finding entertainment in my yard. I love that, Connie. I think we've done a little bit of that as well. You start to smell the flowers again, and you start to see things you haven't seen in the past. And Ruth says, learning to slow down. I agree. As I realized it was not my pace, it was me. I still didn't have time for things I wanted to do during the pandemic until I prioritized differently. But don't get me started on that one, because that's a life lesson I've had to learn the hard way. There's no such thing as time management. There's no excuses. There's no reasons. There's just priorities. You cannot manage your time. All you can do is manage your priorities. And when we get that figured out, we're in really good shape. So this is a great time to slow down and figure out, what are my priorities? And then be busier than a one-armed wallpaper hanger in that sense, getting after the things that are really important. All right, so I think one of the things that comes to me today is that there will be some really good new things come from this really hard new thing as it fades. And we just need to begin to see and look for those things. Anybody else got one?
We're doing a lot more training, taking advantage of the time to really investigate other ideas on sales and marketing and things like that. Also, we're feeling extremely overconfident based on the country's reaction to this whole thing. I mean, it's so sad to see everybody so scared.
Yeah, and it is, and that's, there's no good that can come from that. We talk a lot about the two kinds of fear, the fear of the likely and the fear of the possible. You know, we call it the fear of the probable and the fear of the possible. I'm never going for a hike again because it's possible there might be a bear in the woods. Or, you know, you go on a hike and you round a bend and 50 yards in front of you is a bear. Well, it's probable that if you keep going, something bad will happen. So fear is a really healthy thing given to us, to fear the probable, to fear the likely. But fear of the possible is paralyzing. And that's where we're at with so many of what we're, and the news has just driven me crazy for the last 12 weeks because fear of the possible sells. You know, it's paralyzing, and that kind of, and that's all we hear is fear of the possible. We don't hear the good things. We don't hear the actual ratios, all that kind of stuff. So great reminder. Appreciate that.
Exactly.
You know, along those lines, Sandy and I helped coin a phrase a number of years ago, and we've used it consistently with people. And we call it about going to MSU, and that's not Michigan State University or Phil in Mississippi. It's making stuff up. And we have the option every day of making good stuff up or the worst possible scenario. Yeah. And it takes the same brain cells to make something good up as it does something terrible. But the outcome on our emotional stability and day is totally different. So I just want to invite each of you, whatever you're facing today, make something incredible up. I mean, why not? I mean, how much control do you have over the next minute anyways? You know, so rather than set yourself up for the worst.
Yeah, Marlon, you need to make t-shirts that say what if, and then you fill in the blank, and then you have like some kind of erasable, like
an erasable
word,
t-shirt
that you can put in a different word every day. That's really awesome.
That'd be fun.
All right, so Chris Ditson, finish off here with Chris. He says, I figured out this financial mess is not the problem for my business. Lack of sales is the problem for my business. I've always been the sole source of sales and realized I should hire salespeople who are better than I am. I went out on a limb and did this, and it's going fantastic. So yeah, this is a great example, Chris, of being broken out. We're disoriented from what we thought we knew. And you thought you knew that it was working with just you alone. Turns out you need even more people right now. So it's a great example of being disoriented. So let's just carry that forward today. Let's live disoriented. Let's live disoriented lives. We'll just have better stories to tell.
Speaking of stories, let me read a couple to you real quick. Everybody loves a good comeback story, right? You know, we root for the underdog. We cheer when all the Davids slay the Goliaths in our life. And many of us are facing those Goliaths, and they come in all forms and sizes. Some can be monstrous and overwhelming. Some can just be those ones that just nibble at our ankles all day. But you are here. So you're not laying in the corner in the fetal position waiting for this to go away. You're some of those people who want to fight back and create your own future. So today, as the economy teeters with uncertainty, and I'm now reading from Success Magazine. Today, as the economy teeters with uncertainty, comebacks are harder to come by. No problems finding failures, and there's plenty of survival stories too. We're not here about surviving. We're not here about failure. We're here about moving forward and taking hold of our future. Let's look at a fight waged by family-owned Cabot Hosiery Mills in Vermont. They proved innovation often is born out of necessity. Says it takes a serious crisis for father and son to break out of old patterns and actually apply one of the game-changing ideas that they previously dismissed. And they're reinventing their business because of the pressure of the creditors at the door has created a catalyst and a sense of urgency that they hadn't had before. Another one, a tornado wiped out tiny Greensburg, Kansas, and the recovery is absolutely amazing. You can't really understand how daunting the comeback effort was until you take that long drive from Kansas City and watch the land empty out before you and turn into plains. Think about what life would be like if your town was gone and the nearest hardware store was a 3-hour round trip, from where you are. In fact, picking up a few groceries might take just all morning.
Wow.
And they rebuilt century-old businesses. It's just a powerful testimony of what they banded together as a community and rebuilt and created a new future. Here's the interesting thing. These stories are from 2011. We are made to be in the struggle and to persevere and fight back and succeed. We're not made just to survive, but to take on a renewed vision, find our grit and ability to lead and succeed. And we trust that's who you are.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thanks, guys. This has been a good start. We want to get your week off to a good start. So I think Sandy, you've got a story of one of our friends who has pivoted.
Yes. So Chuck actually met Marco. He lives in Barcelona, Spain, at an event that you did virtually because you couldn't fly there. Chuck's very involved in helping the dental community. Dentists move from being income producers to business owners. And Marco and I got to do some coaching on the phone around his strengths. And what's really interesting about his story is he has a fabulous gelato business in Barcelona. He makes this beautiful Italian gelato. And so when I was on the phone with him, all that's been shut down. 12 employees couldn't work. He couldn't go into the business. And so he and his son, his teenage son, got together and they're now selling gadgets to the USA. So I love the story from gelato to gadgets and innovation. And he was so positive when I spoke to him about, we'll open the store eventually, but in the meantime, it gives us a chance. And he was going on about just the remarkable things happening even relationally with his son in starting this new business. So love stories like that are inspiring, and hopefully get him on a call in the future.
Yeah, if we can, we'd love to get him on and hear that Barcelona accent.
Yes.
Shelly, you're on a roll. Why
Yeah.
don't you
Okay,
introduce
so
Shelly?
my friend Shelly Whitehouse is on the call today, and this is one of those times where I read a book about horses, and of course we have horses, and working with horses and in terms of developing a business. And Tom and I are certified in equine assisted learning. So we've actually used our horses in our coaching practice or partnered with our horses. By the way, if you want to stay disoriented, you ought to own a horse. We can tell you a story about this weekend. You ought to own a horse because they will keep you learning every day. But Shelly's on our call, and Shelly is a coach. She's written a book around the business with coaching with horses and people. And so when I got Shelly, I just said, I get that you can coach on Zoom, but how are you helping these people that require people to come face to face
And be with horses
for this business? So Shelly, welcome. Tell us quickly how you pivoted and helped your clients pivoted during this time. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me, Sandy and Tom and Chuck and all of you here. So yeah, it's a quirky little industry, and clearly you would wonder, well, how are you going to serve people if you can't be in person? So the thing that, first of all, things were going along really well. So January, February, really good. We had been a good 2019, and then March was just like somebody just ripped the rug out from under business. You all understand this. So my clients were freaking out, and I quickly repurposed existing content. It's like nothing changes in terms of how you help people. So they still have expertise, they still have knowledge, and they still have the wisdom of what they gain through partnering with horses. Most of them are coaches or therapists, even people who are trainers, like teaching riding and technique. We developed online work. I'm working with my own trainer online now. And so the fundamentals are the same. And I think that's what people forget, is that basically it's the fundamentals. Who do you serve? Why do you love serving them? What do you do for them? What are the results they achieve because they're working with you? And then why is that important to them? So all of that still matters, whether you're serving them virtually or in person. And so most people, I was able to help them develop very quickly, put together an online learning offer that incorporates the wisdom of the horse. And now they're building rapport. Some maybe aren't making money yet, but they're building their audience. And others have already enrolled clients virtually who are then eager to work with them in person later. So it's actually been, I usually help people develop something where they work in person first. And then I was like, now you need an online presence. You need something that you could share online quickly to help build your audience. And we just reversed it. Now it's share online first, and then they will want to work with you in person. So that was my little switch.
Awesome.
So I went from 0 income myself in March to about 2,000 in April. And now it's, I see that little aspect already rolling, which is
That's many people's story right now.
yeah. And as far as, I love the disorienting aspect, which is every day. And interestingly enough, Chuck, my newsletter yesterday was literally possibility versus probability.
That's awesome.
So I was like, oh
That's
God,
awesome.
Validation.
We have a theme going here.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
That's
I
great.
don't know if it was you, Shelley, or if it was somebody else doing this, but I know somebody was charging people like $39.99 for 15 minutes to sit outside virtually with their horse.
Oh, that's funny.
Awesome.
I do have some people who are offering that kind of thing, but I haven't seen the 39.
Yeah, because they need nature and creativity and, so, hey.
That's great. You have a client in Australia that's doing
And
that.
if you need a virtual horseback ride, just give us a yell.
Yeah,
We'll hook you up.
Shelley.
I have another client that's actually developed a virtual experience, learning experience. So that's a whole cool thing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if
put your contact information in the chat box for us, please.
Sure,
has anybody read this book, Shelley? It's about opportunities, turning obstacles into opportunities. It's by the guy who wrote the War of Art.
Oh, so I've read The War of Art. I hadn't seen that
Yeah,
one.
I haven't read the book, but I bought it. I thought, well, this is good for our times right now. And it's about the idea that the obstacle is the way. It's not in the way. It is the way. So just more ideas for us.
Hey, Chuck, put that in the chat box if you would.
Sure.
While you're doing that, we want to bring Carolyn on because Carolyn did a bottleneck last week. And so a bottleneck, again, is an issue, opportunity, or challenge facing us. And then we employ the wisdom of crowds to help ask questions and give us suggestions and ideas. So Carolyn, briefly, what was your bottleneck and what have you done since the last time we all met?
Yeah, so my bottleneck was just needing to hire people for my salon, but it's a private salon and we don't do any marketing online. So I was just nervous about trying to hire people without having an online presence. I feel like that would just deter them. So I ended up, after the call last week, just making a little flyer, and I sent it out on Facebook and had people share it. And I got several people interested in coming to work for me, and I have 5 potential employees, and 3 of them are scheduled next week to come in for days to shadow me and kind of see the experience.
Awesome.
Hey, well done.
Excellent.
Thanks for the story. and the
How
feedback.
likely would that have happened without the help from the crowd?
I don't think it would have. I was too scared to take action on it. And I think just getting everybody excited and saying, hey, you can do it. I think that was really valuable for me. I sometimes need that push.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Thank
your
you.
Yeah,
honesty.
thank you.
Awesome.
So we have the opportunity to do a bottleneck or two this morning, at least one. And so who will be brave enough? Here's what we say in 3 to 5 clubs. It's not whether you have a bottleneck, it's which of the millions of bottlenecks and obstacles do we have in our business will we feel courageous to employ the wisdom of crowds with this morning. So who's got a challenge right now that we can help you with? And this is a live thing, not in the chat box thing. So who's going to step up?
And this is the part where we just sit on and everybody becomes uncomfortable while we just sit and wait.
Yeah, the coaches say silence does the heavy lifting.
I don't know that mine is, I don't know that I have a huge one, but we have to hire. And so I think that the interviewing process is going to be a change.
Great. So let me lay out the process for you, Matt. We'll take that on with you. All right. So we do a 1, 2, 3. We're going to have Matt explain his challenge or opportunity in 1 minute. We're going to take 2 minutes for us to ask him
Everybody, yeah.
questions. And then we're going to have 3 minutes for us to give him brilliant ideas that maybe will help address his situation.
So I'm going to time you, Matt, and I am going to cut you off in 1 minute, 2 minutes, and 3 minutes. Okay. So
No problem.
go.
All right. Basically, our business is we serve senior living. We're a technology company. So we are taking the opportunity to, with a little bit of the pause, to invest in getting a couple key components to our team, missing players, people. So we've identified with our team 3 or 4 positions that we need to bring on, and we've typed up the job descriptions. Now we're at the interview process, and it's like, whoa, wait, there's no come to the office. There's so I just started realizing, or stopping to actually think about that. We've just been talking about, yeah, we got to do this. Now it's like, okay, well, now what is that going to look like when we're actually going to hire somebody that we may have never physically met in person? So just, I think that's where we're at, but we're a technology company. And so I'm sure that there's some component of that we'll leverage, but.
Great. So
Thanks,
now
Matt.
we're going to ask questions, and you can put questions in the chat box or jump on. Remember not to pose your questions as solutions. These are really, we're digging in and being curious. So let's start asking Matt questions.
How soon would they start work after you hire them?
It could be immediate.
And Peter,
I don't know that I would say the same day, but definitely I don't need much of a delay.
and Peter said, which type of tech are you providing for that industry? You and Peter ought to get together because you do some similar things, but what type of tech?
Basically, we support everything from help desk to implementations, network, Wi-Fi, business phone systems. There really isn't any technology that in our industry that we can say is too scary for us, because we're supporting communities who are providing care. Our job is to care for those who provide care. So if we say not us, or we don't know, that doesn't give them many options, right?
Thank you.
Are these in-person positions?
In-person positions. So most of them are more along the lines of administrative support role, performing, not necessarily leadership positions, but there isn't one person role at our company that doesn't lead. So I hate sort of that delineation, but yeah, we've got one of them is going to be like a tier 3 IT support person that is more of a geek that can speak, not somebody that can't relate to people. We've got a couple. One is administrative support, and also I'd like a technology education ambassador that I came up with that's going to help support me, and then also help support connecting knowledge with our clients, basically helping them use the technology that they've already got in these times, as opposed to saying, oh, hey, if you want to do something, you got to go buy a whole other bag of tricks.
Great. Matt, Jesse asked, is there information that you can only get face-to-face that you can't get over Zoom?
I think the initial interviews are, usually when we do initial interviews, it's usually over the phone anyways, but we may change it up to be, you know, a face-to-face video anyways. But I don't know that I'm married to the fact that I have to meet somebody face-to-face to see. But I think some of the things that make me wonder is what's the change up that we need to do in order to maybe ask questions differently or to figure things out, because some of it has to do with presentation, but I don't know.
Well, I'm thinking along those lines, and maybe I'll give you the first idea, because we're going to launch into that section, that you might have somebody stand up, you know, to make sure they're wearing pants. It'll tell you a lot about them.
Stand.
Interview.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's give some
And Peter,
in the chat box, and this is the part, Matt, where you can just listen or you can jot down.
Right.
This is just raining suggestions on ideas, and you're just receiving them. So go crowd.
well, were there any other questions? I feel like there was
So
two
we're
that I
going to
skipped
go
at the
on
end.
to suggestions, and we'll
Okay,
go ahead
fair.
and send you the other questions.
Okay.
Matt, sometimes your best investment is getting maybe a few of the people that you've whittled it down to do a Strength Finders test, which costs only $20. You can pay for it, and you'll be able to tell what their strengths are and whether they fit the position that you're looking for them to operate in.
And if you need
Okay.
help interpreting that, you can reach out to the herders.
And Peter said, so this was a question, I'm going to pose it as a solution, Peter. Have well-written job descriptions for each role and the results you want. Peter said he's hired dozens of people over the last 10 years just virtually. So get really clear about what you're looking for and who you're looking for and what you want them to do.
Yeah, I think the key on that is definitely I like the results.
Connie,
results
okay,
we want.
mock-up service call with real or made-up questions. So you can look
Hmm.
on these afterwards too and contact people for more info. What other suggestions do we have for Matt?
I was thinking if you have a job description so they know what they're going for, have them do a little mini presentation that they can either do live or they can video and send you, like as if they're talking to one of your clients or training.
Good way.
Okay.
We always say get moving, right? Speed of execution is really important. So don't make this too hard, too complicated. Look at a probationary period, for example, like a 30, 60, 90-day review process so that you can hire slowly and fire quickly.
Hey, Matt, there's a whole philosophy that Chuck teaches in our 3 to 5 clubs about a job description, and he speaks highly of the idea of we're not hiring employees but stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a real philosophy there for you to check into, and it's a worthy idea to get maybe 4 or 5 experts in a Zoom call and have them talk with this person to see if they can give you feedback from the person after the call.
Thanks,
Great.
Bart.
Awesome.
And yeah, Chuck, thanks. Matt, Chuck's going to send you a chapter from his new book about rehumanizing the workforce and giving people their brains back. And definitely visit a 3 to 5 club where we talk a lot about that process of creating stakeholders. So
Right.
maybe we want to invite you to come back next week and share what you've implemented from this bottleneck. Would you make time to do
Yep.
that?
Yeah,
Awesome.
Matt, just send me your email in the private chat window. I'll send you that chapter.
Okay.
Everybody, every week we repost the whole chat box on the episode. So that'll be available within 48 hours on the Rising Phoenix business community if you want to access that, because a lot of these ideas really work cross industry for us.
And on the website, on the Rising Phoenix Business Community website, there's a place to be featured. So if you have a pivoting or shift story, or you know someone that does, you can sign up there. Please tell us what the story is. We do often have a lot of people come on and they want to talk about what they do and sell their products. And that's not what we're looking for right now. What we're looking for is the pivot and shift to provide encouragement and ideas for one another. And the other thing is we would love to know who of you would love to do a bottleneck. So you'll see stories of success, nominate a friend, bottlenecks to solve, other questions, and get support right on our website. So please utilize that and send other people to it. And Chuck is going to go right into.
Unbelievable. Do we have another time for another bottleneck, or you want to do something else, Chuck?
Well, yeah, I think if we put a short one up there, we could certainly do that if somebody's got one.
Anybody want to throw elbows in order to make sure you get to be heard?
It's a great opportunity. It's a safe place to say, I don't know, I don't have it figured out.
Come on, courageous people.
Yeah, I didn't come to the call planning. I had one, so go for it, people.
I'll try one.
Okay,
Awesome.
Kim, so we're going to time you. Go ahead and give us a minute around what your issue, opportunity, or challenge is.
Okay. I live in the Ithaca area. Thanks, Chuck Tompkins, for inviting me to this. We have a vacation rental home that we built, my husband and I, for our 5 kids. And the taxes here became so outrageous that we have changed and pivoted from it being for ourselves to being something that we rent out as much as possible. So we've lost over 1/3 of what we made last year in cancellations. Beginning in early March, we had a whole wonderful year lined up, and we've lost a lot of it. And so, you know, that's going to affect paying the taxes and a lot of other things. Right now, I'm in negotiations with somebody to rent it out for an entire month, which generally we don't do. You know, the pivot would be that we're doing it at a cheaper price and for a longer time. But any money would be really great, and so we're hoping to work that out. The problem is we're in central New York. These people are coming up from Manhattan, and we're on pause, and they keep changing the different dates. So how can you plan?
Great. So
Thanks.
let's ask a couple of minutes of
Great
questions. Thank you.
Awesome.
Do you live in the home?
We do. We actually, we built a 6-bedroom house, more or less, and we have a 1-bedroom barn apartment. So currently we're living in the home, enjoying it. And we have a local friend who helps us clean it, and then we move into the barn. So sometimes we do bed and breakfast. That's another whole issue. I'm not too interested in doing bed and breakfast at this point because of the contact. Vacation.
Have you offered to rent your home to the nurses, doctors, first responders, people like that need to stay out of their homes for the time being?
Well, thankfully, we in Tompkins County have had minimal infections. Basically, they're laying off people at the hospital because they're only taking COVID patients or emergency patients. And so we're not in that situation. I think probably the other concern would be, yeah, we lived in Queens, we love New York City, but if people come up here, Lord knows what they're bringing with them. You know, we want to welcome them, but we want to be safe, and we don't want, I mean, that's an issue with the state too.
Are there currently still restrictions in place, like as far as in-state travel ban, that type of stuff?
Yeah, I really don't know how they can enforce them. They're saying that they don't want to have, when I looked at the website in the past day or two, they don't want to have a huge influx of people coming into any particular area. I forget how they put it, but it was kind of like that. It's very awkward for hospitality and tourism.
And what can you start receiving reservations again? You know?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Sandy.
In what month can you start receiving reservations again?
Well, some of our associates actually have had some people doing long-term reservations. I don't think we're actually blocked from doing it, but yeah, it's not very clear.
Okay.
Okay, well,
So-
we're gonna just take 10 more seconds because there's a number of great questions on here in the box. And one is, can you market to cities like Boston, Hartford, Providence, Buffalo, et cetera?
Sounds like
and
a good suggestion.
Yeah, well, and that might be a good suggestion. Think about those markets. I'll let you get.
Yeah, so let's rain some ideas on suggestions for Kim.
Am I supposed to respond or just listen?
No, now you'll just listen, and again, we'll make the chat box available to you. You're muted, Brian, if you're trying to talk to us, you're muted. So remember to unmute yourself.
There you go.
Yeah, Kim, this is Brian McGrain, former Ithaca College graduate. So my suggestion is there any way to somehow market to Ithaca College, Cornell, University, State University of Binghamton, any of the schools up there?
Well, Cornell's not coming back.
So you're just gonna listen now, Kim. Thanks.
Yeah, try not to ask the questions, just make them as statements. Here's what she should do.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So this is part of our business. Let me give you a few suggestions that we've done. First of all, Airbnb, if you're not using it, I suggest you get on it because lots of last minute bookings happen there and people with more flexible travel plans tend to use Airbnb. And if you haven't applied for any funding, I know it might not be your main business, but if you haven't applied for any funding, you should look at the funding options from PPP, EIDL, and pandemic unemployment assistance and see if any of those fit your situation.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. And then on the things that are not clear, best advice I ever got from a very good, very high integrity accountant regarding the IRS at one point was anything that is not clear, you take it in your advantage.
Yeah, and we had a guest on the show a couple of weeks ago that is doing isolation destinations, and people are renting for 1, 2, 3, 4 months at a time at some pretty hefty prices. So I think there may be opportunity there that you just haven't uncovered yet if you start advertising for that.
And Connie suggests you offer a discount on advanced bookings for future use and maybe give them the viability, the opportunity to adjust, you know, if the lockdown continues.
And if you're feeling particularly squeezed on ownership, perhaps you would consider selling off quarter shares of your property.
Yeah, I like the idea of actually upscaling this and looking at it as an advantage. You're going to charge even more right now because you're going to give somebody the opportunity to hole up in your place for a whole month when they were in a very small apartment in New York City.
Absolutely.
Well, Kim, this is Bud Doyle in Denver. I have a vacation property in Breckenridge, and Craigslist is an incredible, great way to that's how I market for my guests or so. And you can do it kind of in those cities, maybe preferably 4 miles around or 4 hours around Ithaca, like, you know, Hartford or Boston or Rochester or Buffalo or so. And it doesn't cost anything to kind of use the Craigslist platform as just a way to potentially find new clients.
And I think you should get ahead of the curve on the travel, the whole idea of vacations in general. I just heard again this morning that it's possible that international travel could continue to be shut down pretty much as possible through the end of 2020 and maybe even into the middle of 2021. That means there's going to be tons of people who had vacations in Italy who would love to be in the middle of New York instead as their second option. And you should be out there putting yourself out there as as an opportunity to see Central New York and visit your wineries and all that kind of stuff. I'd be pushing that really hard right now. Get in front of that curve, because as people have to cancel their other vacations, they're going to remember you.
So Kim, put your contact in the chat box, and we invite you to come back next Monday and talk about what changes you may have made from this. We always like our bottleneck people to check in so we can see how the crowd has helped you. So thanks for bringing your courage today as well. And to piggyback on something we just talked about, we've created version 7, right, of the Survival Guide, Chuck. We're in version 7 now.
Yes, we are. Before we go there, I just love Connie's comment here. Do something different like the gelato to gadget people. Do a cooking show.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Or wildlife around the area. But I know, Chuck, Ruth Potts is on, and so are Peter. And so as you talk about this, and I know Ruth's got to jump off, but I know the Survival Guide helped you, Ruth, right? So can you give us a quick 30 seconds on how that helped you before you have to leave?
Sure. Actually, because Chuck was so persistent at pushing that we needed to do this, I was exploring it. Honestly, during the time it first came out, the funding first came out, the Survival Guide helped me narrow down what I would be most interested in doing. I like the forgiveness aspect. And so I pursued that. As soon as I saw the funding about to come through, I pursued it with my regional bank here. And honestly, I think because I had been a longtime member, part of this bank, that was why I got through, and they did get it approved and everything went fine. They were not at the time I did that accepting applications, but they accepted that as a backup. So that was nice. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Ruth.
Great example.
Smart person following that Chuck's advice on that.
And Peter also got funded, right? In ED,
I did.
EIDL and PPP, or tell us a little bit. So both Ruth and Peter are.
Well, yeah. So on the PPP, I was just trying to track and what's going on and what could I do, because I have contractors versus employees and all that kind of stuff. So one of the things in looking all of it too, the bank that I bank with, it wasn't even doing them. And so I decided to go with the smaller, more local bank through VetraBank because I had a relationship with somebody there. So I figured I'd at least have somebody that could give me the straight story and that kind of thing. So that worked to my advantage. It was a little crazy because the week that they said there was no more money I was right in the middle of my process. And so I'm like, am I getting it? Am I not getting it? And the bank wasn't sure. So, so much of this has happened so fast. So thankfully it worked out that I did get in under the wire at the end of the first round. And so what's been great is having Chuck and the whole group that we can go through and say, this is what's going on right now. This is what's happening. What do you think? And just been a great resource through that whole process. It was a little roller coaster ride. For the EIDL loan, I did apply for that. I should have put all my contractors and part-time employees. I did get a front-end grant, but I only put myself as the only full-time employee. So I only got $1,000. Darn it. But I'll take it. So I haven't heard anything else. That's been over a week ago that I got that, but I've not heard from the SBA on the loan piece of it yet. So waiting to hear on that. I had a loan in process with Colorado Enterprise Fund here in Colorado to refinance some short-term debt, which they totally put on hold when all this stuff started happening. And basically, they won't even talk to me at this point about refinancing short-term debt. So I don't know what's going on there. So I kind of hope that I can use the EIDL loan to refinance some of that short-term debt. So we'll see.
Thanks for the update. Appreciate it.
So Chuck, do you have an update on the guide? And
Yeah, I just we're in version 7 right now. And if you didn't get it automatically sent to you and you want the new version each time, because this is such a moving target, there's going to be in the next week, there will, I think, be some much more clear guidance on how you can actually spend this stuff so that you don't have to pay it back. So we'll be putting out version 8 for that. We've got as much as we can in there now, but there will also be some other new things in there. And I would just say that for the PPP, that there is still money out there. And some banks said it would be gone in 2 days. Well, it's been 8 days, 7 days now, and it's still out there. So I would apply if you haven't yet.
Thanks, Chuck. As you've noticed, there's been a number of people who've chimed in that they're in 3 to 5 clubs, and that's one of the components of the Crankset group. And they are typically face-to-face groups, but everything's virtual right now. And we have permanently virtual groups from you can join from anywhere in the world. Love to have you join us and check one out. Visit us. If you just pop your information in the chat box, or go to the Rising Phoenix website and say, I'm interested. We'll get back to you and send you Zoom links and an invite. We'd love to have you join us at a 3 to 5.
And you can go to grow at 325club.com. Contact us. We have groups in the US, in Ireland, some of our Irish friends on today, and Africa. And we'd love to start 3 to 5 clubs around the world in your city. So please let us know how to help you get in one or visit one. And if you're interested in bringing them there, glad to talk to you about that too.
Thanks, Sandy. And coming up in the coming weeks, we're going to have Tim Gard on. Many of you may not know who Tim Gard is. He is an internationally renowned speaker. He's one of 5 people in the National Speakers Association who have the highest designation possible. So, I mean, he is a rare bird amongst the tens of thousands of speakers who are all very good. And he is he's a humorist. He's not a comedian. And he taught me the difference. Comedy is about taking things and being mean about them, or being cynical about them, or making fun of them. And a humorist is somebody who just juxtaposes things that don't belong together. And so it's a much kinder science than comedy. So Tim is going to come on and he's going to show us some ways to work on sheltering in place. And then as we reemerge, he's going to have some ideas on that. And I'm guessing we'll all be splitting a gut, and the show will be over in the first 10 minutes. But he'll be on right away, either next week or the week after. Stay tuned. We'll let you know in our emails to you. Tracy Fenton is also going to be coming on. She's the founder of World Blue, which is a organization that helps organizations become democratic in the way they run their organizations. And so she'll have some great things to say to us as well. And we got some other people coming on, someone who's a fearologist who will be helping us with the whole idea of fear and getting over that. So
I love that. Yeah, it'd be fun to have the humorist and the fearologist back to back.
Absolutely. I think Tim's a fearologist as well. He just wouldn't call himself that.
Yeah, I think so too. Hey, let's finish up our time with what we call BFOs, blinding flash of the obvious, or an aha. It's like, I hadn't thought about that, hadn't considered that. So you can jump on, you can unmute yourself and very shortly, succinctly share your BFO or pop it into the text box.
I'd like to give one that I picked up from Chris, I think, and that's not being afraid to go out on a limb in your business. And that's a big one.
Thank you.
For me, the reminder. Go ahead.
Tom Fanning said disorientation, and Peter said there's a benefit of doing this every week, having a good habit.
Yeah. Somebody else was going to
somebody else was going to jump in.
I was saying get moving and keeping it simple.
Thank you.
There's another one. Get out and stay out of your comfort zone.
Awesome. Thank you.
I was going to bring up meaning when it was the significance of meaning. Just read a new book about the 6th stage of grief. I'm a pastor as well as a business person. And the 6th stage of grief is actually finding meaning in what the process has been to get you where you are as you heal. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Thanks, Everett.
Yeah, in fact, if you want to listen to a great podcast, Brene Brown and David Kessler, it's probably David's book, maybe Everett, but they discuss this and it's excellent, excellent podcast. Connie said kids are always disoriented, which is why they learn so quickly. Thanks, Connie.
I want to comment on the 4th S also, that the significance of making meaning. And I realize, and today is May 4th, of course, so may the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
You're good. You didn't let the opportunity slide by, Shelley.
We got to get that picture with the horse, with the hood and the saber. May the horse be with you.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And also with you.
Yes.
Also with you.
Well, we want to end our time. You can continue putting your BFOs in the chat if you want. What we always like to end with a couple things, and one of them's on community. And I happened to come across a story again. It's kind of the story of heaven and hell, but I think it's a story about how our perspective, what's our perspective right now in terms of how are we living our lives. And the story is that here are people at a banqueting table and their arms are in splints and they have long spoons and they can't get the spoon up to their mouths until someone else takes the same spoon and digs into the delicious food and feeds someone else. And I think that this is a time where we need to look at using our long spoons to say, what can we do to invest in others, to build community, to contribute to somebody else's life, to make it better, like Shelley said, whether we're charging or not, or maybe we're charging more, or whatever it is. Are we serving, not selling right now? Are we building a community of strong business owners that care deeply about one another and can make the world a better place together? So that's my little community piece for today. And Chuck has something to end with.
Yeah,
you have something?
the currency of today is generosity. And Chuck's going to start a little video. We're officially done, but you might want to hang on and watch this.
Thanks, everybody. We look forward to you being here next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Tom and Sandy.
Take care, everyone.
We can't hear it, Chuck.
Chuck, we're not getting any audio.
I was trying to see if I could find the video that he was sharing.
Well, we can read it.
Work-life balance broke, and the children's eyes grew square, and every toddler had a phone. They filtered out the imperfections, but amidst the noise, they felt alone. And every day the skies grew thicker, till you couldn't see the stars. So we flew in planes to find them, while down below, we filled our cars. We drive around all day in circles. We'd forgotten how to run. We swapped the grass for tarmac, shrunk the palms till there were none. We filled the sea with plastic, because our waste was never capped. Until each day when you went fishing, you'd pull them out, already wrapped. While we drank and smoked and gambled, our leaders taught us why. It's best to not upset the lobbies, or convenient to die. But then in 2020, a new virus came our way. The governments reacted and told us all to hide away. While we all were hidden, amidst the fear, all the while, people dusted off their instincts. They remembered how to smile. They started clapping to say thank you and calling up their mums. And while the car keys gathered dust, they would look forward to their runs. And with the skies less full of voyagers, the earth began to breathe. The beaches bore new wildlife and scuttled off into the seas. Some people started dancing. Some were singing. Some were baking. We'd grown so used to bad news, but saw good news was in the making. And so when we found the cure and were allowed to go outside, we all preferred the world we found. Old habits became extinct, and they made way for the new. And every simple act of kindness was now given its due.
But why did it take a virus to bring the people back together?
Sometimes you've got to get sick, my boy, before you start feeling better. Now lie down and dream of tomorrow, and all the things that we can do. And who knows, if you dream hard enough, maybe some of them will come true. We now call it the Great Realization. And yes, since then there have been many. But that's the story of how it started. And and why hindsight's 2020.
It's good.
Hindsight's 2020. Absolutely love it. Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck.
Today.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Great week.
Too.
Have a great
Thank you.
week.
Excellent. Bye-bye.